So today I'm out at the intersection of Morganton Road and US Highway 1. This is in Moore County between Southern Pines and Pinehurst, North Carolina. And the reason I'm out here is to show the importance of following design standards as it relates to compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. The sidewalks you see in front of you are part of a new interchange project where construction began in late 2012 and is either wrapping up or has already wrapped up. When I was out at this location in September doing field work for another project, these brand new sidewalks and wheelchair or curb ramps were not installed yet. So between September and December, these were installed. So the issue is they do not follow the current design standards established by the State Department of Transportation in September of 2011. Requiring a flat landing, and I want to show the impacts that has of a person who is in a wheelchair. So that's what we're going to show here. Ahead of you, you can see the wheelchair that I'm going to be in. I'm wearing a camera on my chest just to show the impacts of that. So let's get started. Here's the memo from September 2011 indicating there's new and revised standard drawings for the State Department of Transportation. In the first paragraph, it talks about the revisions should be effective with the January 2012 letting of project. That's the bid letting for that. And one of the changes that's marked in there is to the standard curb ramp drawing. This is the section showing that. Drawings 848.05 and 848.06. And when I go and look at those drawings, it specifically states that under item 12, construct landings for a sidewalk a minimum of 4 foot by 4 foot with a maximum slope of 2% in any direction. Construct landings for median islands, which is not as applicable here, even though there is one, and that one is just fine. So here is what that looks like in detail. You can see up here that these are the curb ramps, but here is this 4 foot by 4 foot flat landing that's to be to the back of the curb ramps. So you can see, looking ahead to the curb ramp in front of me, this does not exist on these ramps. Going back to that memo that said this was to be effective with the January 2012 bid letting, this project here, I've got the form in front of me, is notification of award of bid from September 2012. So the memo, wait for this bus to pass, the memo was issued in September 2011 to be effective January of 2012, and this was put out in September of 2012, but was not captured in the design of this project. Further, these were not constructed until September, or sometime between September and December of 2014. So there was really 3 years between the issuance of the new standards and the construction of these ramps that they should have been corrected. This is a pretty hairy intersection. I'm going to try to be careful and show you the impacts of that on a person in a wheelchair of not having the flat landing. The landing is there, so if I need to orient myself to get across this road, I can do so in a flat spot. So what starts to happen is the moment I start to go after this ramp, I immediately start pitching toward the road. And you can't see my arms now, but I'm struggling to control this and do that right there. So now I need to line up and orient myself here. So what's interesting here is you can see the crosswalk in front of me. The crosswalk does not line up with the ramp, so I literally have to physically put my wheelchair out into the travel lane section of this to get to the crosswalk to cross this road. So let's see what happens here. I hope this truck sees me in the wheelchair and doesn't hit me. All right, so I'm going across here. You can feel that there's a cross slope to the crosswalk there that makes it hard for me to control the wheelchair through here. So we're coming to a median. This isn't too bad, it's pretty flat. Getting through here is going to be okay. So now I'm lined up again to get to this wheelchair ramp that's across there, and you'll notice it is also lacking the flat landing, which is going to cause an issue for me getting back up to the sidewalk to the right, because this is going to tip and pitch my wheelchair as soon as I start to make that turn. I struggled a little bit to get at that. Wasn't too bad because I was able to hit it with the speed at the same time I turned. So let's go back and do that and see what it looks like from the other situation. So I'm looking at a ramp in front of me that doesn't have the landing, and behind me is where cars would be coming from. So I've got to literally turn and look for cars coming before I cross. The flat landing, if it were over there to the right in front of the yield sign, would give me a safe spot to get to that's flat and turn to see if cars were coming so I would know when to safely cross the road. It's not there. So I'm going to take my chair up to the flattest spot on here, which would be right here. This is where I need to turn myself to see if there's a car coming. Now, ideally, I'd love to be sitting at the top of a ramp facing this way, looking so I can make the decision to cross. But I have to physically turn my chair around to get back to here and deal with this slope while looking over my left shoulder trying to see if cars are coming, and I still can't line it up. Now right there, my right wheel went off the ground. My right wheel was not on the ground in trying to get through this ramp because I don't have a flat landing as the standards required at the time that this was built. So I'm going to back up again and show you what this would look like if I actually had a flat landing and where it was to be. So I'm going to go four-wheeling here. I'll probably get stuck. Yep, I can barely push this through the mud and the muck and the sand here. So if this curb ramp had been constructed properly, I would be sitting right here at a flat space, and the design standards show I should, and be able to look to my left and see if there's a cars coming so I could safely get across to the next area. So I'm going to do that. Roll along there. That's not too bad. Feels pretty good right here. The other frustrating part here is here's a brand new intersection built where there are no pedestrian signals. I have no idea when I'm supposed to cross. I'm kind of out here on an island. I don't really have a good concept of when it's right for me to try to cross here. I'm going to go across here. Hopefully nobody's going to be turning, and we'll see what it's like to enter this ramp. So you can see ahead of me, this ramp isn't lined up with the crosswalk at all, and I'm going to have to turn and try to maneuver within the gutter pan to try to just get myself to this landing that's there. So a car just honked at me because they saw me on the road. Let's get up here. Ugh. So it wasn't too bad coming that way because I could do the angle to get back to the road. But I hope that just demonstrates why it is absolutely critical to follow standards when you have them. And really frustrating to me to know that standards were in place and memos were issued, but it still was not followed on this particular project.